paradigm of real estate success. Question. Do you think it's better to find a great property first or focus on finding buyers first? How many think property? How many think buyers? Okay. There are more people on the property side than buyers. If you flip the property, those of you who raised their hand, that this is buyers first. If you flip the property, did you first find the property or did you first find the buyer?
Found property.
You found the property. If you're new to real estate, what are you working on right now? Finding properties or finding buyers?
Property.
Most people are finding what?
Property.
Properties. But let me share with you this, folks, ladies and gentlemen, that finding deals before you find buyers, regardless of how great they are, is the number one reason wholesalers and investors lose money or don't maximize their profits. Let me repeat again. Since somebody walked through the screen, you may have missed it. Finding deals before you find buyers, regardless of how great they are, is the number one reason wholesalers and investors lose money or don't maximize their profits. And the new paradigm of real estate success. The old paradigm is find highly motivated sellers. The new paradigm is find highly motivated buyers. And here it is, that it's not that finding motivated sellers is going to be bad for you. But I'm telling you, you're missing the boat, meaning that one of the things that people like when they come to my boot camps, when they come to my seminar, is that I repeat, one comment I get always is that Roger does not always tell you the how to do it. He always tells you the why. Because once you understand the why, you will figure out even a better how than me. And because right now, you think about it, that why are you working so hard to buy properties at a discount? Why are you working so hard? Because in your mind it's logical that, man, if the property is worth $100,000, if I don't buy it at, all the real estate gurus, they say 65% and then minus rehab and minus your profit. If I don't buy that formula, I'm not going to be able to sell it. Am I correct?
Yep.
So you're working so hard to find the properties, you're so focused on 65% minus rehab, minus my flip fee, that you forget that your goal is not to buy properties at a discount, but to what?
Make money.
What to what?
Make money.
Make money. And here's the thing. You don't need to find desperate sellers to make money. Any sellers can make you money if you have what?
Buyers.
The right buyers first. There's only two kinds of buyers. There's a retail buyer who wants to live in the house, that's owner-occupied, and there's investor buyers. Because there's all the houses that are millions of houses, there are only two kinds when you go to the public record. It's owner-occupied or in non-owner-occupied properties. And non-owner-occupied properties are investor properties. So those are the two kinds of buyers that you build a buyers list. And if you think, let's take the example of owner-occupied buyers. If an owner-occupied buyers, they typically call their realtors, and the realtor goes to MLS and finds a house, and they pretty much pay retail. Am I correct? Whatever the buyer's asking, the realtor makes a 5% less offer. So if a house is worth $100,000, if they buy it for $95,000, but if they could buy it for $90,000 or even $75,000 house, $80,000 house for that $85,000 house for $100,000 for a retail buyer, is that a pretty awesome deal? Yes, because they're going to live in the house. So if you find a house, if you find a buyer, and that buyer for the real estate, they tell you that I want to buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I want to live in this zip code, this cities. I want Compton. I want this. I want East LA. I want West LA. I want Glendale. I want whatever. Then you go. If you know exactly, and then you have their pre-approval, they tell you how much down payment they have. If you know that they're already qualified, you can go if they're looking for a $100,000 house, it's a lot harder to find that $100,000 house for $65,000. But if you just make blind offers in the MLS for $80,000, how many think you can buy $100,000 for a house for $80,000 every day? You don't even need any kind of motivated sellers. If that buyer you know is willing to pay $100,000, you can buy a house for $90,000 and sell it to them for $95,000. So you got a good deal, they got a good deal, and you're out. The name of the game, folks, is speed. Speed of particle alone determines power. Will that buyer wait for you for 6 months till you can find a deal for them? They're gone. But you found a buyer, you go find a house to match that buyer the next day, the next week. And all you have to do is sell them a house $1,000 less than what they're willing to pay. You just made money. Now go do it again. Now go do it again. And go find find buyers, because sellers are there. Sellers are in FSBO, sellers are in MLS, sellers are in Craigslist, sellers are everywhere. And you don't need, yes, we will. Don't get me wrong. I am marketing for properties, and I am doing that, and I am trying to buy it for as little as I can. However, I find my buyers first. So if I find my buyer first, they want to buy that house for $100,000, I am going to make some $60,000 offers. And if that house is good for them, I'm going to sell them. But if I can't find a $60,000 house that week, if I find a $90,000 house that week, I am not waiting for 6 months. I am selling that $90,000 house, assigning for $95,000, I'm out of there. I'm making $1,000. I'm making $500. The question is that if you're flipping the house for $1,000, how much time did you put into that house? That's the real question. And I will tell you that every time, my favorite way to buy a house is to drive-by or to bandit signs. Every 100 bandit signs I put out, I buy a house. Pretty much clockwork. So each bandit sign cost me maybe a couple of $2 to $3. Right now it doesn't even cost me that much, because I buy those signs for $1 blank, and I have my students in Tampa, they get $1 a sign to put that out. I give them two options. I say, hey, you can get it, I can pay you $1, or I can pay you 10% of my profit that I make on the house, your choice. They always take the 10% for some reason. No. And I'm going to show you exactly. I put out the house and the bandit signs, and I take the phone call. No, I'll show you that I buy thousands of houses, but this, I take the phone call so I'm in touch. I call, the seller calls me, and I just ask, same question. Because they're calling me about the house. First thing is, tell me about the house. I want to get them to start talking. When they start telling me about the house, right there, it tells me everything I need to know in terms of, are they a motivated seller? Are they asking full price, or are they motivated? If they're telling me about the crown molding and the granite countertop and all the nice things, do you think they're trying to sell it for cheap? No. Versus, if I ask them about the house, they go, oh, it's a house. Then I know. If it's there's a kitchen, there's somewhat of a kitchen, I know I've got a good deal. And then once they're done telling me about the house, one question is very simple. If I pay you all cash and close quickly, what is the least you'll take? Always the same question. If I pay you all cash and close quickly, what is the least you'll take?
I'd just offer something that I've had success with. Sometimes when the sellers are trying to, found sometimes they're trying to sell you on you should be interested. And so I would, I think I was Ron LeGrand, I learned it from, but there was the, whether it sounds like a dump to you or not, but you say, wow, it sounds like a really nice place. Why would you want to sell it? And then they actually often will tell you the real reason.
Absolutely. I have a whole series of questions, and that's my closing question. And that's a very good question that you should always ask, is, I'm curious, why are you selling? I'm curious, why are you selling? And that will give you, they go into another whole thing. And the more they tell you, the more you know that they're motivated. And no matter, when you ask, if I pay you all cash and close quickly, what's the least you'll take? No matter what the answer is, even if they ask say it's $1, I don't care what the answer is, your next question is always, is that the best you can do? Is that the best you can do? That one question will make you more money for that 2 seconds or 30 seconds it takes you to ask that question. That is that the best you can do? They go, I just called this last house that I bought with the bandit signs. I said, what's if I pay you all cash? He goes 28. Is that the best you can do? And he goes, you know, he thought about it. He goes, yep, I think that's the best. That's the best I can do. So you're trying to tell me that if I pay you $27,999, you won't take it? Well, well then let me ask you again. If I pay you all cash and close quickly, please tell me what is the least you'll take. So they know at that point that I'm serious. And really, he did say 28. So I said, fine. Because I know, then I know what the property value is. I don't care what the property value is. I don't need to look up anything. And this is the beauty of having buyer's list. Because this is an investor property. So I hang up, I send a text to my first buyer that, hey, I've got this property and I've got it 3821 2017 Street South North in Tampa, and will you pay 35? And she texted back within minutes, I'm in. So I went back. Now that she said I'm in, that's when I went to the seller's place, met the seller, and I said, I'll pay you 25. And I said, take it or leave it. I'll pay 25, take it or leave it. And he thought about it. He said, can you pay 26.5? I said, my next offer will be less than that. 25. And he said, yes, okay, done. Right on the hood of the car, put 25, and then I just called my buyer. I have it said, when do you want to close? Because, next week, fine. And altogether, with everything else, I probably have no less than 2 hours into the deal. And it's every single time I'll give, and then that's bandit sign. Then I also, if I want to buy a house like that, the same house that the bandit signs are called, if you do a drive-by, every Beverly Hills has, within an hour's drive, in every city that they have their version of Beverly Hills, within an hour, there's a lower income housing area. Because all of those Beverly Hills, they need people to serve them, and they have to live within an hour to go there to work. I forget Errol Flynn or one of the Hollywood famous star, he used to say that, you know what, because I've got poor neighbors. I've got poor gardener, poor maid, I've got all these poor neighbors that he's surrounded by. But where do those people live? Can they live 3 hours from there? No, they have to have a bus line and they have to drive within an hour. So you go to that neighborhood and you make offers. And you always, because you will not find junker properties in gated neighborhoods. So, and if there are no neighborhoods like that in here, that's what I say, live where you want to live, but invest where it makes sense. Invest where it makes sense. Every single time. If I needed money tomorrow, you blindfold me, you put it in any city, I'll look at the map, and I go do drive-by. I drive by and I look at every house that's boarded up, vacant, tall grass, anywhere, shape, or form, and it tells me that the house is not in optimal condition, and I will take down those addresses, and I will buy a house on demand. On demand. And I also take down the houses that says realtor signs. Not that I'm interested in those, to buy those. I call those realtor signs, and they tell me everything I want to know about the market. They educate me for free. Because I asked them, what's this house? It's in what condition? or is it a full retail house, or is it a rehab house? They tell me, then they tell me the price, so I know exactly what the market is, what they're asking. One other technique that'll make you money is every time you see, when you're driving, if you see a house for rent, if you see a house for rent, because when you drive for looking for sale, will you find houses for rent? Of course you'll find houses for rent. If you see a house for rent, call the number, and ask, "Hi, I'm calling about the house for sale." And if there is a hesitation on the other end, they go, "House for sale? Yeah, the house for sale. You just found a deal." Because that's a burned out landlord who wants to sell but cannot. That's why they're renting, and they want to get out. That one technique, call every for rent sign and say, "Hi, I'm calling about your house for sale," and see the reaction. And by the reaction, if they're not for sale, they'll simply tell you, "I'm sorry, it's for rent." Chances are you got the property manager, not the owner. Because the manager wants to rent. He doesn't make any money by selling. So then the next question is, are you the owner? And if they're not the owner, then I want to call the owner and find out, is it for sale or is it for rent? And those houses, even if they're not priced very good, this is where you get owner financing. Because the burned out landlord, he just